Adventurers in audio land, welcome to Point Noir. I'm your host, Jerry III, aka Kimono Jack, and I'm very pleased to welcome you back for our second session of the Point Noir podcast. Here we feature and celebrate travel stories of men of color, and today is no exception. Y'all get ready, this is going to be a hell of an episode. Had a great time recording this, and I know you guys are going to really enjoy listening to it. As always, leave us feedback. Hit me up on Instagram and Twitter at Jerry_the3rd. Let me know what you think of the guests, the show format. We're always trying to improve, so we definitely want to hear back from you. So as always, sit back, relax, grab a beverage of choice, and enjoy your visit at The Point. Joining us today at The Point, we have Zahir Roberts, a multi-talented young man with a deep bag of travel stories. You can keep up with his adventures on Instagram at Za_pas2, and we'll have that clearly written out on the show notes and on our page on Instagram. Listen, we just kick it on this one. We talk about his first journey overseas to Germany at the age of 16, some funny stories and the influence of his mother, and why it never hurts to have a friend with a boat. That's facts, y'all. Some solid gems in this one, and I sincerely hope you enjoy listening to it as much as we enjoyed recording it. So without further delay, let's jump into the session. Zahir, welcome to Point Noir, fam. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Excited you're on because I don't know so much about your story, but I feel like it's full of tales galore, man.
Yeah, my friends always tell me I should write a book, but I always think I'm the least interesting person in a room. So
that as someone who feels like they're probably the most interesting person in the room, that's how we all feel. It's fine. Right. I get it.
Balances, man. Balances.
Yeah, you can't be good at everything. Can't be good at everything. Well, awesome, dude. Excited you had some time to spend with us here today. Let's just get it going. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of where you're from, what led you into travel? We'll start there.
So I'm from Jersey City, New Jersey.
Hey, East Coast, Beast Coast, rep it.
East Coast is the Beast Coast, man. I like to consider myself I consider Jersey City like the sixth borough.
Okay.
We're so close to New York City,
you can see it.
Yeah, I can see it. Like the Statue of Liberty is literally in my backyard. Like I remember passing it all the time. But like true locals to areas like with monuments like that, like I don't recall ever seeing it until I was like an adult, like actually going up into the statue. It's like an adult when that happened. But yeah, I kind of bounced around. South Georgia, North Florida is where I spent the years that matter. So I kind of claim Florida because that's where I spent the years where I kind of figured out who I was in this world and who I wanted to be and who I am and where I'm from in North Florida. So I'm a country boy at heart because that's where I spent most of my time at, barefoot at the river, sneaking beers from convenience stores, stuff like that,
Well, I got a country question for you, and this might be not country enough. On Instagram today, I posted a picture of a gallon of water I picked up at the store, and I wanted to know who knew how much a gallon of water weighed. Because when I was younger, I used to spend a lot of time in the Appalachian mountain trails, hiking and stuff like that. And so your pack weight was important. So I know how much a gallon of water weighs. Do you know how much a gallon of water weighs? Not a trick question. I'm just curious.
Okay, so I'm about to do a little bit of math.
Okay.
I'm kind of a nerd.
Okay.
So I know that 16 ounces make a pound.
Mm-hmm.
And what it's maybe like 2.5, 3 pounds almost.
Okay, so that would get you to half a gallon. There are 8 pounds in a gallon of water, so that makes me think there, 16 ounces in a gallon. But you did it a real intelligent way. You used the math, so I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of a nerd in some areas in that way. Also, with traveling a lot, like we have to be very conscious of like our bag weight. And most of the time when I get to the airport, like I'm like praying that it's not over, and it's usually over. But a good smile and no speak English will get you a lot of places.
Yes, in many places. The French kind of have I don't know if there's a phrase for it, but there's a flexibility with the rules I learned when I was out in Paris. It's like, yeah, these are the rules, but you know what I'm saying? Everything is bendable. It's like the Matrix.
Every rule is. And on Paris, no, I love Paris. By the way, that is one of like So I was telling you offline, like I read a lot, uh,
Yeah.
and Paris is so pivotal to the Black arts. My idol, who is James Baldwin, Neil
Yeah, bro.
Chris. You know, it's just such a welcoming place. Yeah, I love Paris. I love Paris. I love Paris.
Yeah, man. Paris has a lot of history, and not to get too off topic, there actually last I checked, there were three separate uh, walking tours that taught you about Black American history in the City of Light. So if you haven't checked out one of those, or maybe you've done enough reading to get around it, I can hook you up with some people, some other readers and historians who are really on their game.
Definitely. I would definitely love to do that. I would love
Yeah,
to.
bro. I was a tour guide for the company for a year, so I got you on I got the plug for you.
Oh, okay, good. Let me get that Groupon discount.
Now they'll probably ask you to lead the tour after a couple minutes with you, man. You got a lot of energy. I love it. Um, so okay, so let's talk about some of the adventures and places you've gone, and then we'll pick a few to focus on. But yeah, let's go there.
Wow. Wow. I've done a lot of stuff when I travel. I try to stay when I first started out traveling, like I was really big on like the touristy stuff. Like I need to be by the Eiffel Tower, I need to go to the Louvre, I need to go see the Great Wall. And
Yeah.
then, you know, you do those in a couple of places and you start to realize like you come home and people ask you like, you know, what was it like? And you're like, oh well, yeah, the Great Wall was this. And they're like, well, what was the people like? And it's like, well, I really don't know because everyone around me were tourists. And so as I started really developing myself as a traveler, like I really started getting off the beaten path. And so that really led me to some of the greatest adventures I've ever had. And granted, you know, I'm only 28 now. So up to this point, the greatest adventure for me had been prom. But now that I've really gotten off the beaten path, like I've really had some really great times and really connected with some really cool people. I'll say probably one of my favorite memories is in the Philippines. Um, when I travel, I try to hook up with like fishermen
Mm-hmm.
because they typically are the heartbeat of a lot of these coastal communities because they control the food source.
Right.
And it never hurts to have a friend with a boat. Uh,
That's a quote. That you know what? Whatever happens to this episode, that's going to be a quote for you, my friend. It never hurts to have a friend with the boat.
it doesn't because people who boat it, I don't care whether it's a 75-foot yacht, 200-foot yacht, or if it's a small dinghy with a Honda engine connected to a motor. Like it, a boat is a boat, and that lifestyle of being out on the water is definitely it's a vibe. It's a chill, you know. Um,
Yeah.
and they're really really cool people who do a lot of reflection because you spend all that time out there by yourself. And they're usually the most popular people in town who have connections with everybody, from restaurants to the five-star hotels, all the way down to the local lady who makes, you know, food for everybody and everybody buys plates from her. They know it all, and that's who you have to know. But in the Philippines, I linked up with a fisherman who sold the fish to the hotel I was staying at, and he took me out for the day. All the boat tours had been canceled because there was supposed to be like a monsoon coming in. I did
Mm-hmm.
not know that because I don't speak Tagalong. Um, and so, you
Perfect.
know, they were like, yeah, you know, the boat tour has been canceled. And, you know, in true American fashion, I was like, I'm an American. Nothing's canceled for me. What do you mean?
The
And
world
they
is my oyster, damn it. Yeah,
this is my oyster. This is my life. I'm on vacation. You will give me a goddamn boat. I don't care what you say. Wake him up. Find somebody to drive this
yeah.
goddamn
Wake him up.
boat.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the hotel, what I also learned too in travel is that everywhere else in the world, you give someone an answer and that's it. You leave. You don't owe them an explanation. But being the American that I am, I need an explanation for why we're not going. So you know, the hotel the concierge said that the tours have been canceled. Didn't give me any reason, so I'm out, you know, just sitting out reading. And the fisherman was bringing his boat in. And so I was like, hey, man, like, you speak English? He's like, yeah, a little. We start chopping it up. And he was like, well, I'll take you in the morning because I've got to go fish. So we went out, we fished. He taught me to trap lobster
Mm.
in a 2-liter bottle.
That
And
that's hood.
that's hood as hell. Like, I was like, I'm really out here trapping. I'm trapping a delicacy in a 2-liter trash bottle. And he gave me some snorkel gear, taught me how to like dive off, go and check my traps, swim back up. He had a friend that like lived off to like a little area where he frequently like fishes at. We rolled over. His friend built a fire. We grilled the lobsters right out there. They were just caught, and kind of just spent the whole day just like drinking beer, and just like sharing each other's stories with each other. And what it taught me was that life is so crazy how connected we are.
Yeah.
Because growing up in the country, we would try to like trap crawfish,
Mm-hmm.
and small little riverbeds for like little small things that we found. And I forgot about those experiences, thinking, that's just children being children. But that's a transferable skill that people are making a way of life out of, and other places. And it just showed how truly connected the human experience is. And so that's one of like my fondest memories. But I've kind of had from wild, drugged out, crazy nights, all the way down to like simply just like reading and catching a glimpse of the moon and really being awestruck at like the beauty of Earth and the beauty of the human existence and what it means to truly be alive. You know?
Yeah, man, and that variety of perspective and experience just adds to what makes you you and how you decide to carve your navigate your path through the world. I mean, it's all value added. That's awesome, and yeah, it never hurts to have a friend with a boat. That's a keeper. Um, yeah, that's a keeper. So that's cool. I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you saying?
No, you're fine. No, go.
I was saying it's really cool to hear that you've had so many experiences at a young age. I mean, I'm 28 myself, just turned 28. And it sounds like you've been able to do this pretty regularly. So a question that clearly comes to mind is kind of what got you started in this path? What was the appeal? That first trip, being a tourist is one thing. And there are many Americans who never leave the country, what was it that inspired you to leave in the first place?
I think my family jokingly calls my mom a gypsy.
Mm-hmm.
They say that my mom's got gypsy blood because we moved around a lot. Yeah. And the way my mom found where we moved to South Florida was we had kind of like a family tragedy happen. And she literally opened a map and closed her eyes and placed her finger down on the map and was like, that's where we're moving. So I think through my mom, I've gained that spirit of just get up and try it.
Yeah.
And then growing up, she always instilled that in us. Like if you said to my mom today, like even this morning, I had the conversation with her. I was like, Mom, I think I want to try this. And she was like, okay, cool. Google some places, see how much it costs. I'll see how much I can like shoot you towards it. And then let's try it. And I was like, but Mom, that's a completely asinine, idea. It was something stupid. Like I wanted to try, like take a clown class. And she was like, yeah, no, try it. See if you like it. That may be something for you. So I've always kind of had that bug, but I really did not get bit by the travel bug until I was like 16. And what happened was a group of friends. So growing up in the country, in small towns, you hear about in mainstream society, rather,
Mm-hmm.
you hear about foreign exchange students.
Yeah.
But when we lived in bigger cities, I never truly knew who was a foreign exchange student because everyone had accents and bigger cities. Like you take Jersey City, New York, where everybody is from somewhere.
Right.
You never really get to separate. Okay, you're not from here, and you're only here for a limited time. Until we moved to the country, and meeting the foreign exchange students that came to our school, they were like, oh, you guys should totally come. They're at 16, 15, 17, and they're in a foreign country staying with a foreign family for months, for a full school year on end. And just hearing, their lifestyle, I was like, that's cool as hell. And I think I would like to try that. And so we got the opportunity the school had set up like a cultural exchange with a set of German students. My principal was going through her doctoral process, and that was one of the things that she talked about. So she opened it up to people who would host the students who had hosted a foreign exchange student. And I had a foreign exchange student stay at my house. Funny story about that too is that my mom's a very get up and do it myself kind of person. So she did not like the floors in the kitchen. She had been wanting the floors retiled for a while. My stepdad was like, "No, this is not in the budget, yada yada yada." So my mom woke up one morning and I remember gospel music blaring. I'm like, "Oh crap, we got to clean up." But much more than clean up, my mom was in the kitchen pulling up tile and retiling the kitchen herself.
Wow.
For the foreign exchange student, she was like, "I don't want him to come here and see these floors and think we've got terrible taste in."
Is your mom from the West
So
Indies by any chance?
You know, it's funny. We're not sure where my grandfather is from. He was adopted very early in his life by white people. So I grew up with white cousins who we knew they were Italians. And we never really got the opportunity to dig deep into where he's from. But I assume so, the way my mom's work ethic is and the way my mother's work ethic is. I would not be surprised.
Shout out to the culture, because that is some West Indie shit right there. I love it.
That is it. And my mom would be like, "Y'all get out of my way because you're going to ruin it. Move. I got this." Right. And so she got up and tiled the kitchen herself. Never took a masonry class ever. This is before YouTube tutorials was big.
Right.
I don't know where my mom even got the idea from, but I assume she got down to the store and was like, "I'm finna tile a kitchen. What do I need?" And just went from there and read instructions.
And it looked right too, though. It looked good.
That kitchen floor was immaculate.
Yep.
Like I've never seen something. And I'm still amazed to this day. And I joke with her all the time, like, "Mom, you're really probably the baddest bitch since Beyonce. Like, how do you tile a kitchen yourself with no skills?"
Hey,
you know,
that's the culture. That's nothing but the culture right there. I love it.
Right. But yeah, so I hosted the foreign exchange student. He stayed with us the entire school year. Really cool guy, Aziz. He's Turkish. He's from Germany, small town in Germany, called Wuppertal. And it's right outside of this town called Aachen. And so, you know, we kind of bonded that year. Of course, you know, the stranger living in your house, you have to bond. And so the time came where my principal invited us to go on the trip. So, you know, everything got set up. And before we could give the invitations to our mom, like let's say she set it up on a Monday, she sent out the notice, had a meeting with everyone who hosted a foreign exchange student that year on like a Monday.
Right.
And was, "Okay, we're going to plan this trip. It's happening, yada, yada, yada. I'll get the forms to you Wednesday. Let your parents know." But come Tuesday, she had given us the news that the trip had folded and it wasn't going to happen. So now you've got, you know, a group of like 16 angsty small town kids who are now enamored with the idea of, "Yeah, I'm going to Germany for the summer," who are let down. So me and my friends kind of, you know, rallied everybody together and we devised a plan to make the trip happen without adult supervision.
Okay. I like where this is going, though. Really, this is. I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, because listen, even at that age, you said, you know, this is possible, and let's find a way to make it happen. So yeah, tell us what happened.
Yeah. So we all kind of met up one night. We told our parents we were having like study session, which really turned into sitting around drinking beers that we like stole from each other's parents and wine. And, you know, like smoking weed and shit, like what true American teenagers do.
Right.
And so he's like, "How are we going to make this happen?" And one of my friends, they were like, "You know, let's just tell our parents that each other of our parents are going to chaperone it. And we'll be the point of reference. Like, we'll be the point of contact if they call with any questions." And, you know, this happened in May, right before school got out. We were trying to make it happen in June, late June, early July. And so we're like, "Yeah, let's do it." So, of course, I'm in a room full of Caucasian children who are very well off. Only little black bug in the mix of white beetles. And so I'm like, yeah, this is great. Yeah, sure, cool. But in the back of my mind, I was like, man, your mom ain't going for this shit. Like,
Right.
it's cool, but y'all have fun.
We have
And
accountability in our
so,
culture.
yeah, we've got accountability. We've got account. My mom was like, man, first off, I seen the school with these kids. You're not supposed to be friends with these kids. Get this out of your mind. You're not going out of the country. First off, I was like 17 and we didn't have a curfew.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I knew better than to come in my mom's house at a disrespectable time.
Right.
So, 8 o'clock, I'm in the house, car parked. And if I got to go anywhere else, it's like, hey, mom, can I have permission? But my friends, they're out and about everywhere they want to be, but I still have to ask for permission, even though I had my own car at the time. And she didn't set rules, but we just still knew respect. Like I didn't want to test and see what happened if you broke a rule.
Right. I didn't want to find out that there was a rule that I was unaware of. I got you.
Listen, that's exactly what it was.
Tie the mess out of that ass. You'll be like,
Right. And my mom's a lefty, so you really can't fight lefties too well if you're not skilled in fighting lefties. So look, I was not taking any chances.
Facts.
And so what happened was the day before the last day of school, my mom was up at the school because, again, it's a very small community. Maybe 2,500 people live in the town. So it's not uncommon for your mom to be up there to be cool with your teachers because everybody knows each other.
Right.
And so my mom came up there to go have lunch with one of my teachers, just shooting the shits. And one of my friends that was involved, I'll call her JP because I don't want to fully incriminate her because to this day we were sworn to secrecy.
She appreciates that. There you go.
Right. So JP saw my mom, was like, yeah, so did Zahir tell you about the trip? My dad's totally cool with, chaperone us, yada, yada, yada. So when my mom brought it up to me later that night, she was like, yeah, I talked to JP. She said, Coach P is going to chaperone you guys on the trip. I think it'd be dope. And I was like, yeah, sure. But, in my mind, I'm still nervous, that it's all going to fall to hell and my mom is going to kill me when she finds out the truth. But we went with it. And so over the coming weeks, my mom was, tucking away dollars here and there, calling my grandparents, aunts, uncles, like, hey, he's got this trip. He's got this opportunity to go to Germany. Send him some money. $20 helps. $50 helps here and there. And she kind of crowdsourced and fundraised the money for me to go from there. And once she, kind of signed off on it, we was like, wow, like, I'm really going. Like, this is really about to happen. So, late June comes, we board the flight, we go. And we were doing fine for about 2 weeks until JP's oldest sister, who was dating a guy her parents kind of like forbid her to see. He was much older. We were like 17. He was like 22, 23. Yeah. He was kind of like a hippie and a nomad in that sense early on. And he was going to be in Germany, so she tagged along on the trip. And so she had her own credit card because she had graduated that year. Her parents were sending her off to college, so, in typical affluent fashion, she had resources. Right. So she booked all of our hotels. She was booking the travel. We just gave her the cash for it. And that's how we went from there. And about 2 weeks into the trip, we checked into a hotel in Berlin, and she gave them the wrong credit card. She gave them a credit card that was in her father's name, but the room was booked under her name. So when they went to swipe the card, it kind of gave like a flag, like, hey, this isn't right, call and get approval. She called her parents, or the hotel called the parents to get authorization, and that's when shit hit the fan from there. Wow, I've never been so nervous in my life. Like, when her dad thankfully approved the transaction and was like, hold them there. Do not let them leave that hotel until we get there.
Oh, snap. Y'all was on lockdown.
We were on lockdown. We were confined to one room. And, everyone who travels knows that only in America do you get king and queen size beds everywhere. So it's like 10 of us trapped in a room with 2 twin beds. It was so uncomfortable.
Yo, y'all was on virtual Jedi remote lockdown.
On remote lockdown. Like they really did have a security guard at our door round the clock to make sure that we did not leave per our parents' request.
Wow.
And every time the phone rang, everybody's heart dropped. because we all knew that it was going to be one of our parents. So once your parents called, like you were now on phone duty to answer and kind of shield and get the next person ready for the call. And my mom was like the fourth parent to call. And that was the longest, most embarrassing conversation I had ever had in front of my friends, because you don't want to be the uncool kid who's got rules and shit, right?
Right.
And so, everybody else's parents were like, we're disappointed in you. How dare you betray our trust? My mom went in. She was like, you let these fucking white people get you to goddamn Europe. What if some shit would have happened? You think they would have had your fucking back? These white people ain't got your back. They not your friends. And my friends are listening to this.
Yeah, they were like, "Oh my God, wait, does he mean us? Are we the white people?" Jackie, is she talking about? Oh yeah, bruh. Yeah,
So
bruh.
I'm embarrassed for, and what's crazy, growing up in rural America, I know now in hindsight that their parents had similar conversations about race when it came to Black and Hispanics and other persons of color.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, like, living in that bubble of thinking, like, everyone's your friend. Like, there's no racism. Racism doesn't exist because, I've got white friends who are cool and their parents invite me over. So they can't feel that way about me. So I was extra embarrassed for them to know that my mom still had kind of this archaic view of society, or what I thought at the time was archaic, because I, thinking we're progressive,
Right.
we live in a society where, racism is dead. Everyone loves everybody and respects people off the basis of their word. But as I know now, as I've gotten a little older, I know that is not the case. That is not the case.
So it's sad but that is the truth. It is sometimes the upheld illusion. But I'm just imagining. So I'm thinking back to like the last time I was really on lockdown like that. So you got in trouble at school. Because I was a latchkey kid. We're the same age, but I'm like an 80s 70s latchkey kid. So I would come home to an empty house. I remember I messed up in school. This is like kindergarten or something. And so, I had a key to the house, let myself in. My mom had left a note on the door saying that I was to go to my room and do nothing else and wait till she got home. And I'm thinking about me sitting in my room waiting for my mom to come home, knowing that she was only like an hour out, but knowing that your people's was like an 8-hour plane ride, a 10-hour plane ride, and a couple of days out, bruh. Like, you might have gotten your first gray hairs on that one.
It was scary because I knew that my mom financially could not afford to just hop on the plane like everyone else's parents could to come and check in. Really honestly, the only parents who could truly afford to show up and chastise us were JP and KP's parents.
Right.
But even still, I'm like, they not my mama and they white, so they probably just gonna yell at us and we gonna be fine.
Right. We'll hold hands and skip into the sunset. It'll be awesome.
Right. They're just going to tell us they're disappointed, take us out to lunch, and then, everything will be cool. But I was still scared that my mom was going to find a way to get to Germany, to get to Berlin, and beat the living hell out of me.
Bring that heat. Damn.
Yeah, so she kind of cussed me out. And that's where I got I got bit by the travel bug. KP's parents showed up. And did exactly as I expected. Took us out to dinner, told us they were disappointed in us. But Coach P was super cool, and that when his wife wasn't around, he was just like, "Y'all, you guys are fucking lit. Like, I would have never been able to pull this off. I commend you guys. Thank you guys for not going to jail. You guys look like you've had an amazing time so far." So he was like, "I'm going to smooth everything else over with the adults. If you guys give me your word that nobody's going to get abducted, kidnapped, drugged, or go to jail, I'll work it over with the parents that you guys stay and finish out the remainder of your trip."
Wow.
And so we gave him our word, and we had a remaining 2 weeks of travel bliss. Like we toured Germany for pretty much a month at 16, with no adult supervision. When I got home, I thought she had forgot. Which, and looking back in hindsight, I can understand why she was so hurt, because when I got back to Germany, my mom picked me up in my car. She had got me a car that summer.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why she had got me a car, because she's like, he's so responsible. I can trust him. I know he's going to do the right thing. So that hurt me more than the ass whooping that did follow. I did not go away scotch-free. She whooped my ass. My auntie tried to fight me. She tried to box me. Me and my dad got into it. I definitely got my share of fisticuffs over the trip. But that was like my first international trip. That was like, yeah, you can do this. You can definitely do this.
Yeah, and you put enough on the on the line at that age that you probably needed a few more trips just to make sure you broke even. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Return on investment.
you exactly. I need this ROI, so I'm gonna just do this now. But it's really interesting for those who maybe haven't ventured out to Europe so much or don't know the culture, is that for them, traveling, having that gap year, or whatever, after 16, after high school is normal. Like it's a regular occurrence. So it's interesting that here in the States we don't let our kids really do much
Mm-hmm.
because of this fear of pending danger or going to jail, like you were talking about. And yeah, things happen, but it's like there are apparently way more responsible kids in Europe, but that's not the case. I think it's just the access to experiences like you had. Um,
Yeah.
and your parents fighting you. Listen, I think my parents, they don't want to fight me anymore or maybe ever, but it's just wanting you to be safe, bro. It's knowing that,
Yeah.
that in these areas, in these suburbs, in the States, we're somewhat of an endangered species, sought
Mm-hmm.
as, seen as super predators, as some political parties might say. We're seen as threats, and that would be heartbreaking for them. So the ass whoopings are love. I wish we could find a different way to express it, but shoot.
And I will say that trip grew the relationship between my parents and I, because afterwards they kind of kept me sheltered. Like my dad's a Muslim,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and that I've always grown up aware of Black history and the plight of the Black man in America,
Yeah.
in the world over, per se. But they kind of kept me sheltered from what was really truly going on in the outside world and how we are truly perceived, um, as Black people. And so after that, like my parents really kind of pulled the scales from my eyes and let me know, like, this is how the world sees you. And up until that point, we've had the talks, like, you get pulled over, you say yes sir, no sir, keep your hands in plain sight, all of those things. Even and it's so crazy in hindsight, now that I think about it. One of my neighbors, her son was in Texas at school, and he was beat and drugged by some white nationalists
Wow.
from the back of the truck and murdered. And I remember them talking about the story and telling us that it's not safe out here, but you chalked it up, and they kind of chalked it up for us to keep us with that hope that life is going to be good, and that if you do right by people, they'll do right by you.
Hmm.
They didn't really go into the real message behind how unsafe it is for us, Black people, Black males specifically, and the world over. But after that trip, like my parents really started breaking stuff down to me and really grew me up really quick, and was like, okay, you want to be grown, you want to see the world. This is what you must know about who you are and how the world perceives you. Um, and so that was kind of like my turning point. And up until that point, I really was only interested in Europe, traveling to Europe, because that's where my friends were going on holiday with their families. And that's where all the foreign exchange students were from. But after that conversation, like I really became grounded in wanting to see the world and see where people of color come from and how they live, and to immerse myself and into the culture.
Yeah, dude, 100%, man. And it's really interesting because when we kind of have to have this optimism, and I'm all about positivity and being optimistic, because otherwise, why would you get up in the morning? But things do happen. But when you consider some people's argument for not traveling, like, oh, well, you hear it's so crazy out and such, it's like, did you just forget what happened to your brother last week or last year or
Yeah,
6 months ago? So it's almost like I better travel. It's almost like travel, explore, or die. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's crazy because when my friends that have that excuse of, the world's so unsafe and I don't know, they'll turn around in the same breath and be like, oh, well, I was in the store today. They followed me and I wasn't doing nothing. It's like, don't you see the that this is the exact same thing? Like, get out and see the world. And they actually are a little bit more tolerable, as I've seen in other countries. Like, they have their problems and their issues.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've seen, like, for the most part, except Asians, I don't know if this will get me in trouble, but I do not like traveling to China. because I feel like a museum exhibit.
Everyone calls you James Harden?
No, funny is in China, this lady was like, "Oh, we love Empire. We love Empire." And you know, like my 9 to 5 per se is I'm an actor and a writer,
Mm-hmm.
and I just come off a set of auditions for Empire, so I was kind of salty I didn't get it. So for her to bring up Empire, I was a little heated. But then she was like, "We love Empire. We love it." She was like, "Can we take a picture? We love you on the show." And so, you know, I'm like, you know, foreigner abroad, they think I'm a celebrity. I'll go with it. You know, they're buying drinks, they're enjoying it.
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, take my picture. They'll never get back to me. Until I actually watched, because I have a rule, I don't watch things that I audition for and don't get,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I don't watch a lot of TV.
Okay. Fair. Touche. I like to read. No, I got you.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna read because I was not up for a part in this goddamn book, so I'm gonna read this book instead. And it keeps me from being jealous.
Yeah.
Other people's, you know, success. But yeah, so I got back home and I was like, well, let me watch Empire and see who she thought I was. Saw nobody dark skinned except for Bunky, which was he was heavy set, dark skinned guy who they killed in like I think season 1 for crossing like Lucius and Cookie. And I was like, I know she didn't think I was goddamn Bunky. I know this lady did not think I was Bunky. So from there, like I just had I got it like this kind of discord for Chinese people, and just in Thailand last month, me and a group of friends were in Thailand, and we kind of spent like 15 days kind of wandering around.
Okay.
And we did, you know, the Phi Phi Island stuff, and we all wore we all wound up in similar colored or color coordinated bathing suits just by happenstance, I guess, because dark skinned people know what looks good for their skin. And you know, we're trying to get them double taps on the ground.
Fair.
So you want to look your best. So we all wound up in similar bathing suits, and they were just so enamored. And people would sneak and take pictures and come and ask to take pictures of us and just stare. And it reminds me of the Sarah, I think her name is Sarah Bartram or Sarah Barty.
Mm-hmm. Hottentot Venus.
Yeah, the Hottentot Venus. Like it kind of reminded me of that. And I after, you know, the first couple of times it's cool. It's like, oh yeah, they think we think we're an oddity. They think we're exotic. It's great to get the recognition that you don't get in the States. But then after a while, it just started to feel like we were in a petting zoo.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of like my Discord. Like, you know, y'all just watch TV, YouTube shit. Like you can see black people so that you don't have to do these things, you know?
Yeah. And dude, for as much as you've traveled and, you know, as much as you own your experience, I mean, own that too. It's a big world. You ain't got to see it all the time. I mean, there are places of the world where I'm like, that doesn't interest me so much. Like, it just is what it is. But at least you've been there and been able to get an opinion for yourself rather than just go off the word of somebody else, you know?
Yeah, and which is why it's weird for to be like deemed like a travel influencer, because I don't deem my opinion, or at least I don't the way I live, and I feel like I live the most basic of lives, to where I challenge every information I'm given.
Yeah.
So to be a travel influencer, to me, I'm like, nobody is gonna just take my word for it and say I have to go here because he said it. I'm gonna figure out if I like this place and do my research and then go on my own. But as I'm saying, like, people definitely take people's opinions very serious, and they do take it into consideration. But I've always been the type that's like, if I think it's cool, I'm going to try it. And if I didn't like it, at least I can say for myself, I didn't like it. And I didn't go by what someone else said about how cool it was, because their interests aren't my interests. We can be best of friends, and what I find cool, you won't find cool.
Right.
You know, because there's some places that I go to that it's just like, I much rather just be here to sit out and read and lay in the sun for a while, rather than, you know, experience culture and go see this monument and go see this person and go to this nightclub and have this experience. It's just honestly being away from people where I can relax and just read. That to me has kind of shaped a lot of the places that I really enjoyed.
I feel that, dude. I definitely need to start cultivating my list of countries just for reading. So that's two good ones. It never hurts to have a friend with a boat. And yeah, I like your country to read books.
Yeah. And it's funny because my friends in the States, they don't like inviting me out to parties. Because like I'll come in, I'll speak, I'll say hi to everybody, I'll take shots. If everyone's engaging, I'll engage for a bit, and then they'll look around and I'll be somewhere like off on a porch somewhere, reading a book. And I feel bad because they think that I'm not interested, but no, it's just like I'd just much rather read. Like I'm glad to be around you guys, but much more content just sitting here reading.
Well, that's self-awareness, and there's nothing more valuable than that. Myself, I'm an introvert, so I get it. If everybody else is jamming and that energy's there and I don't have to provide the energy, I'm cool.
Yeah.
But other than that, man, listen, you'll find me out in the desert because I'm chilling. I ain't got no choice but to chill, find all the shade and just do nothing.
Just do nothing. It's so calming.
But that's
it's
a gift, though. That's what everybody works so hard for. At least that's what they say. And then when you get the opportunity, they don't take it. It's like, what's going on?
I think people when people say that, it's not so much that's what they want. They feel that that's what makes them interesting. And what I tell people is like, no, it's quite boring to have gone to another country and all you can say is that you read. And so people kind of gravitate to that whole like, oh, I don't need people to have a good time vibe. But it's quite boring. It's quite stressful because there are times when I do want to reach out. I'm like, hey, let's party. But they're like, oh, well, you're going to sit in the corner and read. So let me pretend like I've got something to do. Like I've got to file taxes. So I don't want to hang out.
Taxes, schmaxes. We don't play that. No, I got you.
So it's like it's a gift and a curse, but nobody truly wants that. Nobody truly wants that life of solitude. Nobody really does.
Not all the time. Not all the time, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, dude, you shared a lot with us. I know that we got you for a limited amount of time, so I appreciate you stopping through. I definitely want to know what kind of words of advice you'd have for somebody who hasn't yet set out or who maybe wasn't their own travel agent at 16, breaking out of the country to go to Germany. Someone who's considering it, and I think you brought a lot of enthusiasm and excitement to everything you really spoke about. How could someone get started? What are some things to consider? Like, what sort of advice would you have for a first-time traveler, and specifically, probably a Black man?
Don't worry about going with friends. Start local. The United States is a weird country, and that where everywhere else in the world, every other continent, North America, South America, Africa, Europe, you can drive within 2 hours and pretty much be out of that country. But in the United States, it would take you like a full day of nonstop driving to get from one side to the other side. So it's such a big country. Start small. Take a road trip out of your state. Take a road trip out of your city, and get comfortable with being by yourself. Because I think everybody who travels will tell you, when you start planning a trip, it's 30 people. Yeah. Let me know when the next trip is. I'm going. You send them the message. Oh, well, I'm booking tickets today. Oh, well, yeah, I get paid next week. Hit me up next week. You hit them up next week. Oh, yeah, I won't be able to go. I can't get the time off. I can't do this. And then it winds up being you and one other person. And a lot of times it's you and yourself. So you have to brace yourself for that, for that solitude that's going to happen. And so taking a 10, 12-hour plane ride is nerve-wracking. Even to this day, I still don't like traveling, flying by myself.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I hate it. I hate being on a plane and it's just me.
Wow.
Because I feel so isolated. And not that, I'm like Warren Buffett Jr., but I've traveled a lot, so I've racked up a lot of points and a lot of miles, and there's a lot of other cheats that I do to rack up miles. So I typically get like an upgrade. And sitting in that little cubicle that's basically on a plane in business and first class, you're kind of like isolated from everyone else. You've got a high wall divider. You don't really see much of anyone else. It's just you, the flight attendant, and you kind of see peaks of other people walking past, but nobody really ever interacts.
True.
And first in business, everyone's eating, sleeping, enjoying. But in coach, I do find that I get to have a couple of more conversations with people here and there. But yeah, you just got to get used to being by yourself. Take some road trips. Pick a city. There's so much to see in the United States. Start there if you're not that jump out there full-fledged with no parachute type. And just get used to traveling and seeing things, and then work your way up.
Dude, I think that's awesome and practical. Actually, more important than being awesome, it's practical. I know my journey was quit my job, take a one-way ticket to Paris, and figure it out. Like that is not the only way to play the game. And you're right, our country is wild. Like there's nothing else like it. You talked about going 2 hours, and for those who haven't maybe experienced it, like 2 hours, we're talking you're in a different country. Yes, has a different name, different language, different food. People look
Mm-hmm.
different, different smells, like completely foreign.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's so much here in the States. There's so much variety that we have here that sometimes we forget. And I actually have a guest coming on the show. All he has a vlog about him going to different national parks throughout the country, and it's amazing. I saw it and I was like, dude, you got to be on the show to show people like what's in their own backyard. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and for myself being in Dallas, I'm new here, but I should know Dallas as well as I know Paris. So that's a great
Yeah.
reminder for me as well to be like, engage. I think people are really going to get a lot of value out of that.
Yeah, because not everyone's that jump out of the plane parachute kind of guy. Like I think people who make a lifestyle out of this because well, what I would say is that people compartmentalize. People like us who travel a lot,
Mm.
they make it out to be a hobby, but this is a lifestyle for this nomadic way of living, and it's much deeper than that. So when you say to yourself, I can't quit my job. I don't have that resolve and that hustle. It's a hustle to be able to drop everything and commit yourself to something. And it's okay if you don't have it because we need people who want to be Fortune 500 presidents and retire at 60, 70, 30, 40
Teaching schools,
and
run the
drive
power grid. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's we need people like that. And I think so much now, thanks to social media, a lot of people feel that they've wasted their life if they're not lit on the gram and they're not in a foreign country every week and they're not working a 9 to 5. No, like I wish I had the security of knowing that I'm going to get a check every 2 weeks. Like
Mm.
I envy that lifestyle, but I just can't. I can't do that per se because the travel bug truly has latched on to me, and working a true 9 to 5 where I have to go into an office just doesn't fit into what I want. So I've had to make some sacrifices, and this is a note for people who are trying to make a true life out of this. You're going to make sacrifices. You're going to have to live very small. You're until you get to a place where, like you're a mainstay travel contributor, or you've got a partnership with Norwegian Air or Delta or American or the Ritz Carlton or Hilton, where they are encouraging you and comping your entire stay. You're going to have to say, well, I'm eating ramen for a week to save up for this trip to Bangkok next week, um, so that I can live this life. And it's not comfortable by any means. It's not comfortable, but you find the joy in it. You find so much joy in saying that I did that. Like I made it happen. And I was sitting here, speaking of taxes, like I was sitting here getting everything ready for like, for next year and starting to, save away money to pay taxes for next year. And I was looking at it and I was like, wow, like you kind of have made like a little, you made a little change,
Right.
for having a job. Like you made it work. You're not as dumb as you think you are, and you're kind of a little bit more savvy than, what everyone gives you credit for. So yeah, you just got to make those lifestyle choices, and that's other thing too for those people who want to make that big leap, and for anybody out there looking for a life change. Do not be afraid to move home. Don't be afraid to rent a room out.
Right.
Don't be afraid to have a roommate. Do not allow consumerism to make you feel like a failure because you're 33 and you have a roommate, or you're 33 and live at home. The only reason why I don't move home is because I've got a really sweet live deal here in Atlanta, which is where I'm based out of. And the travel out of Atlanta, I get more deals to the Caribbean and to South America
With Delta
and to
as the
Europe.
hub.
Yeah, with Delta as the hub
Yeah.
here. So I'm really kind of in like a sweet deal. And also like on a lot of these discount travel sites like Travel Zoo, Travel Pirates. My girl RachelTravels.com. She's got a blog where she helps you find the flight deals. Momondo is another one that I use.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these are based out of these West Coasts, particularly for Asia. West Coast in Chicago. Europe. You'll see a lot of it coming out of New York and Boston. And being in Atlanta with Delta as the hub, I've got a really great deal to get me to those major cities to take advantage of the cheap travel, because you see these ads that say, oh, cheap flight 327 gets you to Europe, and then you go to put in your city, and your city now with the flight to get to the city that they want you to leave from has now hiked the trip up to like $600. But
Yep.
in Atlanta, I'm really able to take advantage of the minimal cost because Delta's here.
Yeah, that's really smart planning. It's one of the reasons I moved to Dallas is because of the airports. I know I can get to anywhere I need to go somewhere else for almost nothing and consistently.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, more practical advice, man. I really appreciate you sharing that. And yeah, just the small steps. You're going to expand your comfort zone. You're going to learn and see something new. And you mentioned Rachel Travels, which is someone you're very aware of. You guys are friends. I know of her. I really appreciate her content. But I know you also got some other stuff popping off. So tell us what you got going on. What kind of projects or other trips you got coming up?
Yeah, so right now what I'm working on is putting together a nonprofit that affords the opportunities to inner city children. I'm just going to be completely blunt. This may bite me in the ass later, but I'm really targeting Black youth, Black and Latino youth, to give them the opportunity to submit an essay on where they'd like to go and why, and then pulling together other essayists who are looking to go to that same city and sponsoring a trip of 10 to 12 children to go and spend a month abroad over their summer break. And just, get them excited about travel, because I worked for a bit, like, those of us who have kind of like shunned everything, to go and start traveling and kind of take that big leap. We dabble here and there in Fortune 500 companies and, small companies here and there to, save up money in between. And one of my in-between jobs, I worked as a culture and climate coach in Newark, New Jersey.
Okay.
And so for those who are familiar with New Jersey and New York, you can see New York City skyline from Newark, New Jersey. There's a train that costs $2.50. It's gone up to $2.75 now. But it's $2.50 to take the train 10 minutes and be in New York City. And I've got students and parents of students who have never been outside of Newark.
Yep.
With it being so cheap, just $2.50. That's again, for those of us who live up north, that's 5 Lucy cigarettes. That's 5 loose cigarettes, at 50 cents a piece. And they have not seen what they can see from their own houses, you know?
Yeah.
And, granted, my mom also, kind of had that, if you want to see the world, I'm going to make it happen kind of bug. And I just feel like there are so many other kids who want that experience, that just need somebody in their corner. And I know that not everyone's as scrappy as my mom to get stuff done. So I want to be that advocate. I want to be my mom for those kids who have the idea. So I'm starting a foundation that will do that and afford that opportunity, as well as give graduating seniors the opportunity to go on college tours abroad, and let them see that if you don't get into Yale, you don't get into NYU, you don't get into the University of Florida, Florida State, University of Texas, UC Berkeley, that there are other schools, both locally and abroad, that are willing to pay you to come and study there. And you can get just as quality of an education, if not better, to set you up to be a global citizen. And so I want my foundation to encompass that and give everyone the opportunity that if you've got an idea that America may not be your final resting place, or if you just want to see what it's like outside of just travel abroad, because it's tough enough being a college student and study abroad, that there's somebody out there that's willing to advocate for you and make it happen. So that's like my big baby. And then on top of that, like, I'm working on a podcast now called Lit Shit. And it's basically, it's a book club. It's not your mom's book club. And that, it's going to talk about current events. It's going to talk about books and how it relates to us at this age, life. And it literally is going to be like lit shit, where every month there's like a meetup. You buy tickets, you show up. We play board games. We have an author there or celebrity that's, in tune with the book. and we just discuss the book, and the topics that relate to us.
That's what's up, bro, dude. I love the positivity. I love that you're trying to find ways and to impact people and give the similar experiences that you were fortunate enough to have. Like, that's super dope. As we close out, bro, how can people get a hold of you if they want to contribute or just follow, see all these pictures? How can we get a hold of you?
Yeah, so hold on. I feel really bad because I'm going to have to look up my Twitter name now. But on Twitter, this week, I'm Zah Out Loud, ZAH Out Loud on Twitter. And on Instagram, that's kind of going to be a little tongue twister, but it's Zah Padedu, ZAH_PASDEDEUX. Yeah, and Facebook, Zahir, I think is my name on Facebook. There was a time where I was changing my name to like random stuff like Ptolemy Soda, and there was like some running nicknames. Like I think I was Gator Purified for a while on and my mom was like, I can't tell my friends how to follow you. Can you make your name a regular name? So I changed my name to like Zah, regular name again, Roberts.
I'm laughing because yeah, I can imagine. Bet. Well, for those who didn't,
it should be Zahir Roberts on Facebook. But yeah, so just shout me out. zroberts9@gmail. If you'd like to just shoot me an email, I check my email all the time. Any advice I've got, any connections I've got, I'll gladly pass them along to anybody out there. Just don't screw me over. If I pass you along, come through and do quality work.
Dude, that's you ain't said nothing on that. Yeah, come through correct, y'all. But dude, you've given so much. I'm gonna make sure all these different handles and ways to get access to you are on the show notes. Dude, this has been great learning about your story. I had a blast doing it. I'm sure all the rest of us here at Point Noir are really digging it, and your vibe, man. Appreciate the energy. So, dude, thanks for coming through, and let's stay in touch, man. You're always welcome here at the Point, bro.
Of course. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for having me. And remember, a friend with a boat is a friend indeed.
It never hurts. I love it, dude. That's infamy right there. Listen, bro, we'll stay in touch, and at least I know what I'll be doing the next time I'm in Atlanta. I'll be doing lit shit. I don't know about y'all. So, Get with the program and keep up with the dudes so that you guys know how to get involved too.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Man, appreciate it, Zal. Talk to you soon, bro.
All right. Thanks, man.
Peace. Y'all seriously fooling if y'all don't leave that man a 5-star review and clap it up like crazy on the Anchor app. 16 years old, jumping over to Germany, no permission slip, and a black mama at home, living to tell the tale. That man's a legend. Zahir Roberts, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you follow him, keep up with his journey at Zah_Padedu. That's Zah, ZAH_Padedu, PASDEDEUX. Also going to have it in the show notes. And I love his initiative to support Black and Latino youth to travel the world just like he has. I think that's so dope, and there's nothing wrong with having a heart for the culture, bro. Hope to have you on the show again. Y'all, that was session 2. In the books, we got it down. Hit me up on Instagram and Twitter. You already know the handle at Jerry_the3rd. I want to know, 1, do you have a boat? And 2, what you catching off that boat? I love seafood. I'm trying to have a buffet, y'all, when I show up to your island. Hit me up. Let me know. Till the next time, hope you guys have enjoyed your stay at Point Noir. This is Jerry the 3rd, signing off.